Mike has shared the Trailblazer DX. There will be a virtual version of this as well, but this is an in-person event, and it is the developer version of MuleSoft Connect. You can kind of almost think of it like that. So let me stop sharing. Mike, I'm going to turn it over to your capable hands to kind of walk us through real quickly the new features of sales of Anypoint platform.
Yep. Okay. Yes. Very good, Jim. Thank you. And everyone can see my screen. I just shared title slide says Houston MuleSoft Meetup. Yes.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Really good. All right. So just a quick run through around a new announcement that's been around for a few months. It was around the December timeframe that they announced what is being called Universal API Management on the API platform. So it's an expansion or an evolution of API management capabilities. It's built as a set of capabilities. We'll look at each product area next here, and that it's going to extend the scope, open up the scope of management capabilities for APIs from anywhere that can be deployed and run anywhere, right? So Anypoint platform will have the ability to host an API, manage an API, run an API of any type in any place in any kind from anywhere. So it expands that out. And we'll talk about some of those areas. And there's some news out there as well. So those of you who keep a close pulse on what's going on with the Anypoint platform, you may have seen some announcements towards the end of last year and such. And we'll look at that. So this universal API management on the platform, so it is for all APIs running anywhere. You're going to be able to compose a service using any API built on any platform, implement any type of architecture, where it's a microservice or monolith with this, and then deploy and run it in any environment. And so there's a few things that are going to facilitate how this is going to work. And the first part is the introduction of what's called an Anypoint Flex Gateway. And it's been announced for a while. It's currently in a beta version, and it's expected to be available sometime in the first half of this calendar year. And so you can read about it. You can see demonstrations of it at this link. So if you click this link here, or if you just go to our site and look up the Flex API Gateway, you can click this and watch a demo and read about what is in the Flex Gateway and such. Just ultimately, though, it is the lightweight, very, very fast way that you're going to be able to manage and host any service, any API, deployed securely, managed from the Anypoint platform itself, to be able to create and host an API upon any platform. So just a quick introduction to that if it's new. Again, you can see some of the locations where this is going to be able to be run and such. That's currently planned. And again, it is in beta. Okay, Flex Gateway. So that is a new announcement in terms of the universal API management. But that's just a part of it. Secondly, there is a beta version of a piece of a capability we call Auto Catalog. Auto Catalog will be able to tie in with your CI/CD process to automatically look at what is built and then extract relevant information from that, and to improve the documentation by cataloging what it is into Anypoint Exchange. So any of the development processes will tie in with the MuleSoft Auto Catalog during the CI/CD pipeline step that you choose to extract it and automatically create Exchange entries for that. So it will build efficiencies in how rapidly you can create and catalog. And then, of course, creating a standardized base catalog helps build and ease the team's operations in terms of being able to find and reuse what you've built. Okay, and that's presently in beta too, and will be available the first half of the year. There's not yet any public documentation or videos just yet on that because it is beta, but expect that around the same time as Flex Gateway in that broad time frame. Okay, Auto Catalog. All right, and so the next area that's part of the Universal API Management includes some enhancements. It's going to include some enhancements to API Community Manager. And if you're familiar already with Anypoint Community Manager, and our Anypoint API Community Manager, it's a way so that you can make APIs publicly findable, discoverable, accessible from the public, right? So say you want to have public endpoints that you'd like made available, you'd still like to be able to govern those and track those and secure those. Well, some additional capabilities are going to be added to allow you to automatically notify any consumers of those if there's a new version. So there's been a lot of asks to say, how do we let our community know if something new is added? Well, the community is going to be able to subscribe to an API on the community portal, and that if any time that API is changed, then those persons who subscribe to that through the portal, through the community, will be notified of that. Additionally, there's going to be enhanced collaboration and feedback from those, such as likes and ratings, discussions and feedback and such, so that you can hear from the consumers what their thoughts are, allow them to contact you as well. So just some enhancements to communities and for further engagement. And again, expected in the first half of this current year. Okay, and then another area where there's significant amount of product investments being made that is an additional capability, as additional part of universal API management, is improving the way the governance framework works. And again, this API governance is available. It's a beta. Well, it's beta, that is. It's not available just yet in terms of readiness. However, the documentation and information about that, there's a link that's available on the website. And so what it does is that during the time that you create and publish an API, you can set up checks that automatically check this, does it meet governance standards that your organizational has set. So you may have internal standards or regulatory standards, and you can set those rules on what those standards need to be in our governance configuration, so that the time those APIs are created, if it passes or meets or is checked against those standards, so you can apply those rules across those. Also across existing APIs, whether it's Mule or non-Mule, consistently. So it's just another layer for you to automate the standardization of the governance standards within your organization. So it's done in an automatic way that you set up those policies ahead of time. And so again, that's going to help make sure that everything that you create, everything that the organization creates, adheres to that in a seamless way. So seamlessly validating that during the development and design. So, and again, you can read about this at this link here. You can read about the API, Anypoint API governance, see a screen view here, read more details about how that is going to work, how this applies to it at our website. So that's all right there and available to read about. And now it is expected to be generally available again sometime in the first half of this year. And so that is the enhancements that you can expect from API governance. And then this is a capability that's been around for a few months. I just wanted to bring it up again, that our platform presently supports the Async API, or now currently supports Async API. You can create async using the async specification with our API designer. And that is something that is available now, that was made available around October of last year. So that's something that's relatively new. Just wanted to bring that up, that you can build event-driven APIs with the Async API standard. Okay. And then last thing I wanted to talk about, that's some of the new capabilities and then what's expected next that the product team is putting some time towards building out, is around MuleSoft Composer. And so you may remember we've presented Composer for a while. I believe it was last year. We just showed you what the MuleSoft Composer for Salesforce is. It's targeted for Salesforce customers who use Salesforce and want a no-code way to build integrations. So you may have business users who want a no-code way to build integrations. There's a series of connectors that'll connect in that those business users can build those. What's made available recently is MuleSoft Composer that's outside of Salesforce. So for non-Salesforce customers that want a no-code way to rapidly build integrations, that we have something called MuleSoft Composer that will help people that want to build integrations with no code. And then what's expected this next this next few months, sometime in the first half of this year, is a MuleSoft enhancement to MuleSoft Composer that has Anypoint capabilities. So this is where the Composer is going to be able to leverage APIs built with Anypoint. So if you build a system API or a process API and you want to be able to, with no code, connect to those or offer your business users ability to self-serve, get access to some of those, that's what's going to be available here with MuleSoft Composer with Anypoint capabilities. So I just wanted to just show you the full picture of what is going to be made available for the next year. That's really the extent of the prepared material that I had that I wanted to share with you. Happy to answer any questions. If there's any questions that you have, you can feel free and post them in chat and we can work through those. All right.
Michael, I have a question. Do MuleSoft has any plan on Async API next? We know that it's currently only the specifications. Is there any roadmap for the next with new features?
Specifically offhand, I don't know what the async roadmap is beyond what's presently out there. That's something that I would need to check on. So let me look that up while Charles is presenting, and then I can post an update into the chat after I find something.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good question.
Anyone else have any?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
Sorry, I didn't know if there was a question. Okay, really good. And then, like I said, you can find info about it at MuleSoft. Yep. Or feel free and connect or ask questions over LinkedIn. Happy to answer those there too at any point.
Outstanding. All right. Thank you, Mike. That was great. And I don't even think you covered even some of the, like, I think there's other, like there's new connectors and things that are always being dropped out. So Mike, is there a place, I think we've shared this link before, but I believe there's a link that people can go to see everything kind of in the last couple of releases.
Yeah, there's a what's new around the
that's it.
Release notes. So yeah, let me share that here. There's a release notes by date. That's a good place for anyone to keep a pulse on what's new recently. So I think that is an absolutely good place to sort of look and see what's really new and released. Okay.
All right. Excellent.
So well, good.
Let me go ahead and turn things over now to Charles. As I mentioned, Charles is coming to us. He's also a MuleSoft employee and has been there for 7 years. So, Charles, give us the brief history of application architecture. What have you got for us today?
Okay. Hi, everyone. This is Charles Lee from MuleSoft. Thank you for attending this activity. First, I want to thank Mike and Jim for organizing this wonderful event. I spoke at another meetup at least 4 years ago. But it's nice to see so many people gathering together. And as Jim mentioned, right, this is a sharing section. You know, we're all hardworking and smart professionals. Everybody can pick up a menu and read, right? And there are so many tutorials, questions and answers, even YouTube videos on how to configure a connector, for example. However, over the past 7 years with MuleSoft and over like 25 different customers, I had some thoughts I would like to share. I even wrote an article inside our Knowledge Hub. And actually, this presentation was adapted from a presentation I did to a state agency in Texas, state government, to their CIO, and I got a very good resonance. And by the way, the content actually I discussed with Jim on this while we worked together, and I have been thinking again and again over the time. So I would like to share with you. So I want to put things in perspective, right? Everybody, keep talking about the word services, SOAP, REST APIs, microservices. But if you really ask the question, at least for me, about 350 candidate technical interviews for MuleSoft and about another 50 interviews for partner resources, my experience is there's about only 25% of the people who can even scratch the surface. Why am I saying this? Because let me share with you to put things in perspective and then clarify some of the basic concept, which I think is more important than if you know step by step how to configure a connector. So let me put things in perspective. This is a timeline. And before the 1980s, right, the mainstream applications are monolithic. It's proprietary mainframe, for example. And at the time, I present this to the state agency. Specifically, that's a child support division for the Texas Office of Attorney General. This was right at the beginning of the pandemic 2 years ago. And that was only 9 months after they failed. It's a public news. After $420 and 2 years with a major consulting company, it's in the news, you can search, completely failing. So I admire their courage to start again, even less than a year later, right? So they started with Salesforce, but I presented at the beginning, you have more challenges because your system is here along the timeline, about 40 years old system, and there are problems and it's very fragile. And to be honest, you only find people with gray hairs who can have anything working on it. So I told them, first, you need to put things in perspective of history. You know your system is here, but do you know where you are going, where you should be on this timeline, or where your mindset is, right? So we need to first have an understanding of the evolution, at least from the IT application or system architecture perspective. Now let's talk about that. We know at this time, I started my IT career here, and I had a chemical engineering background, so I didn't get into the IT industry for later. So before 1992, the mainstream programming language we know is procedural, right? C, for example, sometimes even the low-level assembly language. So they model the solution, very specific, right? You assign a value to a variable, or even you move a value to a registry. So very specific. And we know by 1992, the very first object-oriented language, which is Smalltalk, it didn't take off. It came out, and at that time I was in graduate school, and I already changed my major to electrical engineering. So I was watching on it, and we all know at the high level, right? It's a different paradigm. I'm not going to repeat those, but pretty much we changed from modeling the solution to modeling the problem, right? So you solve your problem by define classes and an initial object, and you design their interactions by calling each other's method, right? But the key point here is you model the classes, you emphasize the behavior, you hide the traits. Remember this, I'm going to mention this again a little later. So from there until the end of 1995, Java came out and quickly become a mainstream pure object-oriented language. We all know this root class is called objects. Everything is a subclass of it. And that stays a mainstream, thinking about the way of architecture. You design your solution by define object, and you solve your problem by designing the interactions of these objects. And you emphasize the trait, and you hide. You emphasize the behavior and you hide the traits. These are the key features, right? So we find this is scalable, and you can reuse other people's libraries of jar files. So quickly we have an explosion of all kind of system. So up to the middle of the 90s, every company has hundreds or maybe thousands of systems, right? Each serving a specific purpose. A financial system, HR system, each serving their own system. So at that time, people find, okay, sometimes and often, more than often than not, a particular function system, they serve a specific function and they own some of the data, but they also need data from other systems, which they are not the choose of source. So this way, naturally people think, okay, whenever I need the data, I will copy it over, right? And naturally, if the two processes are in the same memory system, which is usually not, so you just call the other class jar file. If they're in two different systems, what? Either you send a file, which is a batch process, or you share the data from the database, right? So you just copy data back and forth. But there are fundamental problems with this. Number one, it's a point-to-point, not only the transport, but also the data, because every point-to-point is a fragment of the data, which cannot be reused. And also, you will quickly realize, you are going to get a spider web. They call the spaghetti code, which is not scalable. And fundamentally, the moment you copy over the data, you cannot trust it because there's maybe another copy on the way. So there are a lot of the problems. That's why people would get into the area called enterprise application integration. You call this decoupling of the transport and data by having a ESB, right? And then the event-driven architecture is an effort to decouple that pops-up model, and then you also want to decouple the consumer and the publisher by using a so-called canonical data model, so this can be reused. And these are the main theme in this area. I joined my previous employer, which is TIPCO, in 2001, which is 2002 was the time Jim mentioned we worked together at BP. And a couple of years ago, I revisited my friends over there, and I realized, okay, there's so many people, right, working in this area, including myself, and we're all smart professionals, but why after 20 years, you're still looking for a integration platform? Why? Well, of course, on one side, the problem is complicated. Not only because of the accumulation of all these systems, like the dinosaur applications mainframe, you should only see in the museum, but also the problem itself is complicated. And also mergers, acquisitions, and making it worse, right? Because business never make a decision on acquisition just because you have a different IT system, right? So in this time, we are trying to promote the concept of SOA, which is a SOAP service. And if you think about this, up to this point, it's still the same mindset of modeling the solution, having the interactions of different objects to solve your problem. It's the same methodology to emphasize the behavior and hide the trait, right? All your public method and the private attribute in your class. It's just now the objects are no longer in the same memory space, but they're distributed, they interact with each other. All those SOAP methods are equivalent to your object method. It's still the same mindset. And still, the problem we solved here it's great. The services, microservices, of course, microservices is not the same as services, but we don't have time to cover that. And all these things are great in practice. You no longer need to hire a mainframe guy. You no longer need to hire an SAP. They're expensive. You can grab a college graduate and who knows XML schema, the WSDO, HTTP, they can start to work on your integration. Great. However, there is a challenge that your enterprise is up to this point, all the interactions are within your organization, right? You haven't started to talk to your partner, to your employee, to your company, customers. And think about that. Everyone has a three-dimensional relationship with partners, customers, and their employees, and all of them are important. And IT people view this as a network of applications, but the business people may view it as a network of values, right? How do you provide values to your downstream and still leverage the values provided by the upstream? That's a big challenge. And also the adoption of, in parallel, the adoption of cloud, mobile phones, right? Which, greatly expand your boundary, even the CEOs, COOs thinking boundary of how you model your business, right? So back to this timeline from IT perspective, at this moment, right on 2001, Dr. Roy Fielding published his doctor thesis on the REST. However, for about 15 years, it's not getting any traction, really getting any traction. I learned about the REST around here while I was at TIBCO, but for the next decade, most of my work are still on services and SOAP. So think about this. I don't have a definitive answer for this, but I think it's the demand for expanding the boundary of your IT system. Right now, you don't just rely on providers from inside, but you also rely on more from the outside. So that way, I think I'll just throw out one point in there. Think about the way object is modeled versus the REST is modeled. In REST, in contrast, you standardize on the method, right? Get, post, delete, put, but you emphasize on the traits. So what?
Charles, I think we lost you for a bit here. Mike, is Charles frozen for you as well? Is it me?
He's frozen for me as well. This is Joseph.
Okay. I have his number. I will ping him. You froze.
Yeah, I can hear you, Jim. I was just on mute and.
Yeah, no worries.
Yep. It was Charles. Something froze. So he dropped altogether.
Oh yeah, he may have. Okay, let me keep an eye out for his return. Okay. Try to give him a call. Apologies for the technical. This is the other thing about having a virtual meetup, right, guys? Is there are technical challenges all the time for this. So just a moment.
He's posted in the chat. He posted a few. Jim, he posted a few messages in the chat.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So Charles, I am going to turn off presenter mode and try to get you back on as. Okay. Okay, Charles, if you can try to represent or come off mute.
Can you guys hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now.
Okay.
You may have to reshare your screen though.
Okay. I'm still on, right?
Yes, sir. You're back on, and I can see your presentation. Everything looks
Okay.
great.
Let's continue. I don't know where you guys lost me, but I'm going to repeat a little bit. So comparing the rest, the key, I really recommend you guys to read the Dr. Roy Fielding thesis. It's about 110 pages. That's probably the only doctor's dissertation in the world I can understand. So, but it's very clear, and you need a mindset change in order to design a good REST-based architecture. So I have a couple of slides to cover that, but I want to re-emphasize the key point with REST is versus the services, you do the opposite. You emphasize on the trait and you standardize, you don't hide, you standardize on the behavior. So this way, if I say a hotel reservation REST API versus a insurance policy API, right? Jim, you look at it, I look at it, Michael, you look at it. Our understanding is probably the same as long as you understand the business. Now, if I give you a SOAP operation saying, reclaim your hotel reward, right? You will have a lot of questions. You would probably need to read a document to see what would happen. Is there any side effect? How long you are going to get the reward putting back visible to you? And is there any charge? You will have a lot of questions. And if there's an error, how do you handle that, right? So this way, in my opinion, REST API is more self-explanatory, and that's why things like MuleSoft Exchange or any other community managers, you put an API there, everybody understands it, versus the service registry on the SOAP set never took off. Now, I don't want to digress too much on that. So, and I believe it's a reason of extending beyond the organization boundary plus mobile plus going to cloud. That is really a catalyst for the prosperity of REST API, so which is around 2015, right? Now, we are here, and the MuleSoft has been promoting the two keywords is enablement and the digital transformation. So if you look at here, the digital transformation is a means we want to really create innovation, and a better experience is part of the innovation, as a result of the innovation. But underneath the table, we need some mechanism to enable that transformation so that we can have the innovation in the better user experience as a result. So I would skip the next couple of slides. It's pretty much just a focus on each period of time. And as a conclusion, we, at that particular customer, they had about 4 or 5 senior VPs or IT directors transferred from financial companies, JP Morgan Chase and other companies. They know, they're actually expert on this subject. And I presented this, and all of them are nodding, in the meeting. We're still having an in-person meeting at that time. So they agree the system is here, and the overall average mindset is here, still with the services, but we need to be here. So it's really a huge jump of mindset. And later on, we, socialize this, and we establish this as a basis so that we can have some, boil down to some guiding principles and use that as a constitution in later discussions, because during every phase later, like the high level architecture design, use case design, test cases, I can always refer back to those guiding principles. Now, let's dive a little bit deeper. I hope time permits. So what is really a REST API, right? And I've seen people just use REST API and SOAP services with those SOAP services interchangeably. And if you look at this concept, a REST API is really representing a resource, a piece of resource, right? So, and this resource is a function of time. Let's say you have a piece of code, right? In the winter, you have different usage of this piece of the code. You can burn it at night to heat your house, right? And the end result is some ash and some pollutions. But you can also send this. I have a chemical background, so you can also send this piece of code to the cattle cracker at down there to the sea in the petrol plant, and they can refine it, and then they can turn them into different type of chemical products with different values. So we know the usage is really affecting the value, and also in IT resource, an API you can call it, I can call it. There's no burned API you cannot reuse anymore. So that's a different story. So at any moment you look at it, right? This dash here, you are only looking at the state of that resource at a moment of time. So during the night, if you look in the middle, your piece of code may be half burned, right? So the residue value and a heat already generated will be different. Now, you can provide a link to that resource. When people click that link, think about the web page, you will actually check this value at this moment. So if you want to visualize this relationship, just think about you're facing a web page, and there are some static information there. There are also links there pointing to others. By the way, I put the link to Dr. Fielding's REST API doctor thesis. Everybody can see it. And again, I really recommend you to read it. So from IT perspective, let's say MuleSoft, right, implemented an API. I really want to divide it into two pieces. One is the proxy, one is the implementation. So remember, in API Manager, you can configure your API in API Manager to point to an existing endpoint, right? That piece is really the one you're configuring is really the API proxy. The instance you're seeing in API Manager, you can configure analytics on it, you can apply policy. That piece is a proxy. Well, you may use stub, you may use other term, it doesn't matter. Now, you can write your own implementation. You can point to another API. So that part is the implementation, which can implement the specific logic connecting to backend to achieve whatever you want for that implementation. And of course, the consumers of your API always interact only with the proxy. Now, putting this building unit into perspective, we're really talking about a landscape of different APIs where each one would have some link, some static status, and those links will point to other APIs. So if this seems to be foreign to you, think about your kids looking at the web page throughout the night, or you can sit there, you chatted with people, you did some shopping online, you watched a movie, you made reservations for your car repair. So values achieved just by your hopping through different web pages, right? A similar picture is if you can put your application in the middle and you can put in different APIs. However, most of our APIs right now is only static information. So according to the REST paper, one of the most important principles is called a HEDIOS, hyperlink as a media of application state transfer. So which means these links. Only when you have these links, you will achieve business value. For example, a utility company, right? From the consumer perspective, if I click on the link to see my account, right? If my account is in a state of pending some payment, I should be presented with a link to pay my bill. Or if there's a promotion, if the backend sees I'm only having a electric utility, it may suggest gas for me, right? Or if it sees my previous promotion period will end soon, it will present me with options, with links, what to do to renew my services. And of course, if I'm not even a customer, it should present me with a link to join, right? So these are all the interactions of APIs. You get an idea. Now, with the limited time, I want to emphasize that we should divide the architecture design in two different areas. Jim, I would suggest the next time it's not easy with a remote way of presenting. We should probably do a survey on how many people in the audience are architects, while how many are doing development work. But I think for both groups, we can think about in the two different layers. Imagine above the table, right? We only talk about the API proxies because that's a definition. We only view those APIs as business asset. For example, insurance policies, claims, customers. There should never be any, backend IT specific terms in there. Now, the implementation of those API are underneath the table. Just like if you don't raise the hood of your car, you should not see those ugly wires, right? And underneath there, the concern is, how do I bring the information to the right place in the right context with the right security to support the working of my API definitions above the table? Now, architects, this separation has a lot of implications. For one, you can design your APIs around your business asset because your business is stable. If you have a merger acquisition, if you decide to swap your CRM system from, say, Microsoft Dynamics 365 to Salesforce, if you design your APIs in a good sense, only modeling your business, you will have a much easier life just to work underneath the table without affecting all these high-level guys. Now, on the other side, if all your APIs are modeled around a business asset, all of a sudden your COO, CEOs will have the same language as your CIO and IT directors, and they can plan for directions that of future business growth. And your CIOs may even suggest, hey, there is a creative way to use your API so that we can innovate, right? So these two diagrams are just two different ways, because your API implementation can call other APIs, and which is the preferred way. So if you can, at the concept level, divide into the two worlds, you can call it concept versus concrete, or innovation versus enablement, it will give the architecture design, and it will naturally lead in how do you collaborate with other people so that you have three legs of the setting, not only the technology, but also the people and the process. Naturally leads to the C4E discussion. So this is a diagram you're very familiar with, which MuleSoft promote. I just want to point, if we need to think a little deeper, especially from the services perspective, we can view this is a view perspective from the bottom, right? So whatever system you have, you wrap it behind the system APIs. And eventually you want to present this to the experience API, which is some applications. Usually that's business funded effort. And in the middle, you're talking about how to transform this to the eventual experience. Now, there is another perspective. You view it from the top, meaning, okay, for a particular founded API, I need to enable my partners to sell our policies, insurance policies, for example. And I need to enable the customer to do self-service, to do claims, right? So in this way, you basically start with a wish list of what business asset or what perspective of your business asset you want to present here. And you drill down to, where do you get that information, massage them and present them, and how do you get them? But in either way, at least, it's okay from the developer and the detailed design perspective, but it may be beneficial to think in a different perspective. Okay, I like to use this analogy. I use it many times. Let's imagine, right? This is a restaurant business. I don't know how many people are cooking at home. I do, but if you start with, hey, today I go to the restaurant, I want to have let's say I want to have a kung pao kitchen, right? That's a traditional Chinese dish. And in order to cook that, I have a recipe saying some peanuts, some pork chops, some vegetables, carrots, whatever, condiment, whatever, right? So nobody would go to the farm and raise a chicken and plant the vegetable in order to cook that dish, right? So at the back kitchen of a restaurant, the manager has a team of guys only do the chopping, right? Prepare it. And these are your system APIs. And you do not think of the backend systems. That's the low level design. That's underneath the table. That's called enablement. But your definition of the system API should not match your backend systems. It's not a one-to-one relationship. It's based on the ingredient section of your recipe. Now, I have a recipe. It's a cooking part. And the dish can be cooked based on this recipe in that process. Now, the same ingredients can be used to cook other dishes, right? If you have some intermediate ingredients, for example, if that pork can be pre-fried, right? And it may be used in other 5 recipes, that's your process API. So, and you can pre-cook it and then later on use when customers order another dish with a different recipe. So if you think about this way, right, you would, it can, if you think about it deeper and deeper over years, it will guide you for your design and the separations of your concerns in that design. So to be honest, again, this section is about share. And I joined TIBCO, in 2001. And for my first 7 months, looking back, I had a mental fog. Even if before I joined TIBCO, I was already certified enterprise Java architect, did Java developers. I was also worked on very hundreds of millions of dollars IT projects, but still integration and APIs. This is a very complex area. You can find a lot of specific articles, but usually you don't find some deep thinking, guidance type of articles to share. So I think my time is up. I would like to summarize and these 4 bullet points. First, REST is not an alternative to SOAP services. REST is a totally new architecture style. And you model your REST architecture after business, not IT, and think about enablement and innovation. I would stop here for any questions.
Any questions for Charles? That's great job, Charles, on this material.
Yeah, yes, Jim. He has very well explained about architectural API-led architecture in a very different way. Yeah, thanks for that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ravi. Anybody have any questions for Charles about some of these some of the things he suggested? If so, if you are able to come off of mute and can, feel free to just jump on and state your question. Otherwise, you can always drop a message in the chat for Charles, and we'll attack it that way. All right. Quick question for you, Mike. Should we spin the wheel, or should we go with kind of that you know sudden death over time, where first to answer wins the prize? What do you think?
Wasn't it a combination of both these past few times where there was a question and then people would get their name on the wheel?
Absolutely. Is that you should we take a stab at it that way?
Yeah, a few questions and then what, a handful of people get their name on the wheel. Does the wheel have a certain amount of names that it needs? Does there need to be?
It doesn't. So we can spin the wheel with I mean, if we have 3 people on it and we spin it, then obviously we might as well just give the 3. Yeah, but if we have more folks that are answering questions, then we can definitely give away or put them on the wheel. No limit.
Yeah, if we got, and do we have time for an extensive sort of Q&A questions? Yeah.
I think we do, Mike. I think we do, and I will get the wheel ready. What I will throw out there just as a first question for you guys. This will be the first trivia question, and actually, I'd love to get you, Mike, and Charles to kind of start thinking of a couple of questions that you might like to ask.
Yeah. Okay. I have a question or two. Yep. Ready.
Okay. You go ahead and make that happen. So here's how this works. So let me start. Number 1, if you are from the Houston area, okay, I forgot to call this out. If you are calling in and you are in the Houston area, somewhere between Kingwood and Sugarland and any point in between, I've got some cool, some somewhat cool MuleSoft swag. All right, I've got like these little pop sockets that they sent to us that'll go on the phone, a package of MuleSoft stickers, and pins and notepad. So easy to give away if we're doing this in person, hard to give away if we're doing this virtually. But since if we have anyone from Houston, drop me a message in a DM because I'd love to get together with you. Maybe at a central coffee place. I'll bring the swag with me. I'll buy you a cup of coffee, and off you go with some brand new swag. So with that said, Mike, if you'll ask the questions, I'll capture the names, and then we'll spin the wheel. All right?
Yeah. Okay. First question: what product area is going to allow consumers to subscribe to notifications for APIs? So what product area is going to allow consumers to subscribe to notifications for APIs? So whoever remembers what that is. All right. Kartik remembers ACM, Anypoint Community Manager. So Kartik Raj is our person who got the answer. So that's a question of mine.
Okay.
I can have another question, or just Charles, do you have a question you want to ask?
I have a question for Charles's material. What did Charles suggest? Let me just a second. Okay, what did Charles suggest was one of the primary differences between SOAP web services and REST. Okay, XML SOAP, methods. Charles, traits are emphasized and not emphasized.
Yeah, that one.
That's good. That
Yeah.
was that's what I had in mind. Is that what does that suit as an answer, Charles?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Francis Edwards, you have your name on the wheel. All right. Do you have another question you might want to pose to the group, Charles?
Yes, let me ask this. This is really for the Mule developers. Let me be a little tough on the question. It was a question asked in our internal forum. If you receive a message, let's say from a JMS receiver, right? What is the mechanism or studio palette to use to catch the duplicates?
Okay, did folks hear that one?
Come on, those Mule certified developers.
Wow, Charles, you've stumped them. They're having to think about this. I can see it now. They're rapidly going through their docs.mulesoft.com trying to find the answer. One more time with the question, Charles.
Okay, if you received, let's say you received a message in your JMS receiver, what is the MuleSoft palette to check and find the duplications?
Come on, guys. I know the answer to this. Can I give them a hint? Should we give them a hint? Should I give them
Someone
the first
already
letter?
got it. Someone already got it in the chat.
Oh, they did. Wait a minute. Oh, there it is. Okay, sorry, I hadn't scrolled all the way to the bottom. I was still seeing REST as a new kind of architecture. Item potency filter. That's right. What do we do? So do we put Francis on twice? Okay. I'm going to give Francis another shot at winning it, right? So you've got twice the. Okay, Mike, any questions?
Yeah, question. All right, so what capability, what's the name of the product feature that will extract relevant API metadata and document that, so to improve standardization and discoverability? So to improve standardization and discoverability, to extract the relevant metadata and documentation for an API. So automatically do that. So adding some more clues here. Automatically extract and document. Auto catalog. Yep, that's what Andrew Hill. Right. So auto catalog, right? So a new capability that you can plug into, that's going to be available first half of the year, that you can plug into the CI/CD pipeline. Auto catalog. Very good.
Awesome. Awesome. Very cool. Let's see. So I've got one. What is the upcoming new feature from MuleSoft Anypoint that will allow you to build flows outside of Salesforce through a graphical interface? I can't telegraph that anymore. This is the new tool. It currently exists in Salesforce, and they are pulling it out of Salesforce. No. Oh yeah.
Kartik Rush looks like.
What's that?
It looks like Kartik Rush has got the answer. MuleSoft Composer. Is that what you're thinking of?
I was, yeah, I think we're going to have to, I think we'll give it to him. I was thinking MuleSoft or a Composer UI.
Yep.
So we'll double his name too. All right.
Yep. Yep. And yeah, that MuleSoft Composer is the name of the MuleSoft version of Composer, and that's outside of Salesforce. So that's what I thought where you were going. So I think that's a good answer. Yeah.
Yep. MuleSoft. Okay, I got you. I see what you're saying now, Mike. It's MuleSoft. Okay.
Charles
Charles,
now has two entries.
Yeah. Karthik's got 2. Francis has 2. Come on. There's 17 other folks in the room. Charles, lay another one on us.
Okay. I have another question for the developers again. What is the name of the feature that makes your API instance inside your API manager to be green or active?
Good one, Charles. Good one.
Yeah, we got 3. Yep. We got a 4.
We got 3 right away.
All
so
good.
The first one in looks to be Ashutosh Kumar. All right. Great job, Ashutosh. All right. Let's see. So we've got 4 distinct names in here. Mike, let's go. Let's try to get one more. Let's try to get one more in here. Let's see. How about this? The audience is, this is easy trivia, guys. The audience for the API community manager is whom? Developers? Mike? I kind of see where he's coming from. I see where.
If it'd be more specific, Alex could be more specific. That would be helpful.
Exactly. Srinivas, what do you think, Mike?
Yes, yeah, Srinivas is close. So, yep.
Yeah, it's really those external.
Yeah,
Alex, what we were looking for was the external developers. It's the folks that it's kind of the public. It's the public facing. It's the public facing portal. For folks.
Yeah. So external users, external developers. That would have been very very
all
good.
Right, I'm going to drop in.
Yeah.
I'm going to drop in Srinivas's name. And let's see, no results yet. So we are at about 12:53. This will give people enough time to kind of get back to their day. I'm going to go ahead and, should we spin the wheel, Mike?
Well, certainly. It shouldn't go take them through that torture of the question and then the speed round without figuring out who's going to get a prize, right?
Here we go for the first prize. And please, when I'm done spinning the wheel and if it lands on your name, send me your email address so I can contact you. You can send it in a DM if you'd like, and you don't want to share it with everybody, but I need to be able to contact you so that I can put this, give you the information to retrieve this voucher. Okay. All right, here we go. And the first winner is it's Francis Edwards. Congratulations, Francis Edwards. All right.
It's rigged. It's rigged.
I am going to take Francis's name off of the wheel since he's already won. So you can only win once. So here's the second winner. I'm gonna feel kind of bad, Mike, because there's only a couple of people on here. So Srinivas.
All right. Beat the odds. Very good.
Way to go, Srinivas. You did. You beat the odds. So that is awesome. Now it's down to, oh, look at this. I don't know. This could really go either way. Oh, wait a minute. Ashutosh, I left him on there, but luckily for us, it landed on a new person. All right. Karthik Raj. Fantastic. So I have these folks as winners: Francis Edwards, Srinivas Alagandola, and Karthik Raj, Paulraj. If hopefully I'm saying your name right, please DM me with your email address. We will be having another shot at winning more trivia. We're going to be targeting kind of mid to late March for our next meetup. And so I look very much forward to seeing all of you guys here. At that point, Charles, thank you so much for joining us today. That was a fantastic presentation. I am going to be this meetup was recorded, at least after I got done with the community introductions and stuff. We recorded the rest of this. I will be posting that. We have a YouTube channel. It's also available always on meetups.mulesoft.com/Houston. And thank you again, everyone, for joining. And Mike, again, thanks for joining and taking us through all those awesome updates. Look forward to seeing you guys next time.
Have a good day.
Yep. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, all.
Thank you, everyone.